There we go. There we go, everybody. Well, if you're joining us right at the start, firstly, yes, I've had my haircut. Secondly, the word on the fridge, for those of you joining early, is Andre, because it feels like we've been waiting a while for him to get here, so I figured we'd at least celebrate his arrival, if nothing else. So let's just give everybody a moment or two just to get in for the show. Let's get everybody in. What would have been really helpful there is given the fact I've obviously now swapped over and now I use my phone to kind of watch bits and pieces and check things are working, would have been to actually have it in my hand. That would have been a really sensible plan. Let's just find what that is there. So let's do that. Let's make sure it's all shared in the places. I've already shared it on Facebook as well. Let's get those folk in. Like I say, we always just do this little bit at the beginning for folks watching the playback. I'm sorry, but because this is live and everything comes in live, we do give everybody the opportunity to kind of get into the stream before we get rocking and rolling. You can see the various parts of the back of my kitchen there, which is always fun. There we go. That's better like that. I think that's better. Focus slowly starting to trickle in, so we'll get rolling before too long. Oh, I just realised as well the one bit I need open. Actually, having some notes open would have been helpful. Having my notes bit would have been really handy, wouldn't it? So we'll just get this open. There we are. That's what we needed. Having the right set of notes open, always a good start. Really professional here at BOTW, as you can appreciate. 45 points, yeah, I know. But we're going to touch on that in a bit, Jamie. Don't you worry. Once we get rocking and rolling in a second, once everything is loaded up and working, are we up? We are up. There we go. It's a couple of minutes past, so let's get rocking and rolling. Guys, girls, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary, welcome. It is Wednesday night, it is 8 p.m, and welcome back once again to the BOTW What's Current stream. My name is Anthony Russell, and we're here for the NHL's first, and as far as we're aware, only live show that covers all 5 divisions of the National Ice Hockey League structure here in Britain. We focus on the National Division. That is our bread and butter. That is our home port. But of course, we look at all 5 divisions. So we cover the National as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. Hope you're all doing well on this Wednesday evening. Feeling slightly gutted for Canada because they're currently, as we watch this, a goal down to Belgium, having missed a penalty and played pretty much better than the Belgians. So, given that we're an ice hockey show, we have a bit of an affinity for the Canadians. So hopefully everybody is doing all right. Before we kick on too much into all the bits that need to be talked about, a few bits of housekeeping. If you're watching live, hello. Welcome back. Welcome to YouTube, where we've now moved the show after 2 years it was actually, on Twitter Live. We've moved everything over here now to YouTube because the interface is better and things actually work. So we're doing that. But if you could take a moment just quickly if you're watching live to share out the stream, that'd be appreciated because we use the really fun, lovely fun live chat feature. This isn't a monologue. This is me leading the discussion. But obviously we need input from you guys as well. So feel free to use the chat down the side. Questions, comments, anything about what's going on right now in the world of the NIHL. And of course, we open it up to a bit of a free-for-all towards the end too. But of course, if you are using the live chat, DBAD, don't be a dick. Please be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings and everything like that. Also, if you are watching on the playback, share the stream anyway. I swear these are good later. They'll be absolutely fine. The other bit of housekeeping, of course, is the website where I do the majority of my writing. It's bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. For the last 11, nearly 12 years, your number one source for everything related to the Basingstoke Bison. Player comings, player goings, match reports are running with the Herd series that covers pretty much every home game or every game I've at least managed to lay my eyes on. As well as having our Hockey Stories series, the weird, wonderful, and wacky world of ice hockey, usually with a bit of a British focus to it, but we have covered everything from the 19th to the 20th to the 21st century, both sides of the Iron Curtain, multiple continents. I swear, because I know they've looked at it and we had to do some slight amendments to it. There is a piece coming for Hockey Stories very, very soon, when eventually they will sign it off and let me publish it. But that is a lot of fun. But we have got crazy things from the NHL, the AHL, the NIHL, the EIHL, how a referee got started in ice hockey after being accosted by an old man in a shopping centre. That and a bunch of other things. The old BOTW podcast back catalogue is there. Dice Hockey, our tabletop ice hockey simulation game. All of it is there at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. So it is another Wednesday. We've had another weekend's worth of action across the National Ice Hockey League structure. And we're going to start off with the really, really big bit of news, which is live actual stats. Stats that make sense, stats that we can actually read and interpret, and we're going to know who's actually top of the table properly and who's the top scorer properly without people guessing or the clubs making it up as they go along. Not that anybody made it up as they went along, but it's nice to have an actual proper place. And because finally, somebody in the EIHA saw the light. NIHL Stats, our friends over Joe Scott over at NIHLstats.wordpress.com is no longer the unofficial source. He is now official. Joe is now too legit to quit, and he has been given full reign as of Monday just gone to go through everything. And already, despite the fact, we're 2 months into the season, the National Division is already up to date. Did see the fact he had to put out a request for a game sheet from One North the other day, I believe it was. But that's fine. That's okay. Everything, but Joe is up. He's running. He's doing his level best to get everything as up to date as he possibly can as soon as possible. But this is great news. Obviously, my reporting recently on the issues the EIHA have had in terms of their replacement for fixtures live with Sportle, with them not being 100% honest in terms of what was happening with that, and their few porky pies that they told us really caused a bit of an issue. And I'm hopeful. And Joe obviously put out a video on his Twitter account, on the NHL Stats Twitter, about how he's now official. He was kind enough to thank me in that and saying that I went to bat for him. The honest truth is that yes, I did speak to a lot of people inside the EIHA about this. And ultimately, it's all well and good, me and other people. I know, obviously, he mentioned a few other people who went to bat for him. The reason why we went to bat for Joe is because of Joe. Did we need somebody to do these stats properly? We did, really. Genuinely, we needed something to happen until Sportle was going to kind of do it for us. However, the reason why I think he also mentions Steve Merry, Danny Perchin, and Craig Simpson as well as going to bat for him. The reason why we went to bat for Joe is because Joe gives a damn. And because Joe is really good at what he does, and because he cares, and because that's why I went to bat for Joe, and my others have gone to bat for Joe, because he was screaming into the wilderness, "Let me help you." And he has a website of proof as to what he could do. And finally, the EIHA saw the light when enough people sort of said, you should probably let the guy who's screaming in a corner to help you. And here we are. And now Joe has got all these bits and pieces up to look at. So if you don't use it, NIHLstats.wordpress.com is Joe's site. That is now the official NIHL stats page for the time being. This is great news. Congratulations to Joe, because he has more than earned this for the amount of effort that he has put in. And of course, if you like Joe, go and support the other things Joe does, which at the moment is commentating for the Bees on their live stream. So even as a Bison fan, listen to Joe when he commentates, because he knows what he's talking about and he's very knowledgeable and he's a good egg. And the one thing, of course, that we do have is that we now have a full set of updated fixtures, and we're also going to have a quick look at the stats as well and the proper league tables. It's amazing. It's only taken 2.5 months to get to this point in the NIHL season where we can actually do this. This is bonkers, isn't it? But here we are, and that is what we're going to do. We are going to start, because we know it's up to date and we know it's official. So we are going to start with the National Division of the NIHL. And looking back to, and we'll just go back, of course, to the first fixture of the weekend, which was last Friday. And oh dear. Do I have to talk about it? I probably need to talk about it, don't I? One game last Friday in the NIHL, and if you'd like to hear my thoughts about the Basingstoke Bison's 8-1 home defeat to the Milton Keynes Lightning, I'd recommend you go and listen to the video I put out last night on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. The short version is the Bison didn't play well, and the Milton Keynes Lightning played very well. I don't think they're better than Leeds, but I think they played very, very well. Should be said, irrespective of anything, about that the line that Milton Keynes played, and I assume Jamie in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Lightning played a line of Talbot in the middle of Norris and Hopkins. No words. We'll all turn into Boris Johnson because what a line. Andrew Day, I'm pretty certain is in the chat and he's literally just popped up. I think it's the Hopkins goal, which was just ridiculously good passing. They are scary. They are a scary looking line. We're talking Leeds top line level of scary. Now, I still maintain, having seen all of the sides with my eye, having now seen all of the sides on video, I haven't seen all the sides with my eyes yet, which is why I'm reserving. I had technically am sort of reserving judgment because I can't wait to see your Hull. But I still maintain I think Leeds are a better side than MK. I think there is more in that Leeds side. The issue for Leeds is that MK have now got a few games like this where they've just managed to kind of slap in a load of goals, whereas Leeds have started to kind of tail off a little bit in their big numbers of scoring. If you think this weekend for Milton Keynes, they scored 8 on Friday night against Basingstoke, 6 the following night against the Raiders, and then on Sunday, I'm having a funny moment. They scored 5. So what's that? 11, 8. So that's 19 goals in 3 games. That's that's scary levels worth of scoring for me. And the thing I think where I think Leeds are better is I think Leeds are a little bit better in kind of coming in waves. MK beat a Bison side with its head fully in its chest, like no confidence, no nothing. And I think that really to kind of play into this. But credit to MK, because I did say, and if you listen to the period break bits and pieces like I do now for the Bison, I said that at 2-0 up, MK needed to not be complacent. And it felt like they got a little bit complacent. They let the Bison too much back into the game. And at 2-1, that game was going to, like I said in the piece, that game could have gone one or two ways. So the Bison were going to start really causing a problem, or MK were just going to go no and blow them away. And it was very much the latter, because all the Bison scoring did was wake MK up. And they just turned it on and absolutely just put to the sword a side that was just short on confidence, short on ideas, short on everything. And that was Friday night. And then Saturday night, I got told off by my wife because I was laughing too loud and she was scared I would wake up our son. Sarkanis, 5+3 on the weekend, 12+12 in 11 games, and he's got room to improve. I agree with you on that one, Jamie, actually. Sarkanis was such an interesting watch. I don't know what MK fans make of him. I don't know what other folk will have made of him having watched him live, but he scored a really good goal against Basingstoke, and it was just just a complete defensive breakdown from the Bison where they left Sarkanis on his own at the top of the crease in front of Jordan Lauday, and it was shot from Sarkanis versus glove of Lauday, and Sarkanis won. Really pretty goal. He didn't do as much as I thought he would do in this game, but I do wonder whether because the game was so far gone that they just that he just didn't need to. I'd have been more interested if this was a really tight game. Like if this was like 3-3. And this is actually kind of the difference as well for Grant Cooper. The Bison and Leeds, right at the beginning of the Bison slump, were at 1-1 going into like the 54th, 55th minute. And out of nowhere, Cooper just lets off a shot that just no keeper was touching. I don't care if you were Gospel, Headley, Meta, either Mar or whoever. You ain't touching where he put that, what he did for that. And actually that's kind of the thing that I've sort of seen out of Leeds was in a game where they were really pinned back, they found that way to have that extra quality. And maybe that's why I feel like Leeds are the better side here. Whereas MK just weren't challenged at all. I found it really funny that MK gave their sort of like, they give like an army helmet to like the team's player of the game. Headley got it for Friday. Didn't do anything. Like, talk about an easy ride on that front. Either way, let's put Friday to one side because you can see the whole video that I put up. That's over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Anyway, let's head on into Saturday because, like I say, I got told off on Saturday by my wife because I started cackling. Mostly because after the end of the first period, the Bison were 4-0 down, 8 goals plus 4, 12 goals conceded in 4 periods. I was pissed. I was so cross. So cross. And I said that, something needs to, like, there's obviously a bunch of reasons why things are not working, but this is unacceptable and something needs to change. I meant in a macro sense, and the Bison decided to turn everything on its head in 40 minutes. Bristol 4, Basingstoke 7. The losing run for the Bison has ended, and they put themselves back into 8th spot and into the playoffs with a bizarre game, which included a natural hat-trick in the third period for Marcel Blach. Crazy game all over the place. Desperately waiting for the Pitbulls highlights here. And I really should kind of get some better streaming software actually, because then we could have done like a picture-in-picture and we could have watched the highlights with it. But we're only here for like an hour. That probably would have taken too long. So we won't worry too much about that. So Milton Keynes had a very, very good Friday night. They also then had a very good Saturday evening as well. A 6-3 win against the Raiders at the Thunderdome. Sarkanis, Chamberlain getting things off and running. Callum Field, Tim Wallace, Howden, Barnes, Garner got them towards 6 goals. Harry Gulliver got 1, and that was the end of the first period. 6-1 to MK after 20 minutes, which is crazy. Crazy numbers. And then they scored the second period because hockey is a thing. Final period, then goals from Jake Sylvester and another one from Harry Gulliver to at least give the scoreline a bit less of a massive shine there for the Lightning. But 4 from 4 for them by the end of Saturday night. And then, of course, the other two big sides in terms of results. Well, Peterborough have very, very quietly, not a lot of people have talked about them. They've been a team more than the sum of its parts. It's been substance over sizzle for Peterborough, and they definitely haven't been sizzled for quite a long time. But either way, they had a very decent 5-3 victory over the Bees. Glenn Billing, Corey McEwen, Lucas Sludkovsky, another one from McEwen, and a goal from Ralph Sesenis for the Phantoms. Johan Lindgren, Dominic Gabai. And I'm trying to figure it. And Dan Rose got the goal there for the Bees. Obviously, the Bees, clearly competitive, but just not able to kind of get themselves over the line, especially against a Phantom side that's been running riot recently. And then there was Leeds, and finally, again, we see that the Knights are human after all, as they lose on penalty shots 3-2 to the Telford Tigers, and they lose at Ellen Road. Brady Jessen and Vladimir Luka with the goals in regulation for the Tigers. 2 goals from Cole Shudra, who's now got 50 as a Knight. Got them all the way there. Ultimately, deciding goals in the shootout. Shudra got the only goal of the shootout for the Knights. Luka and Howells scored for the Tigers. Zach Brooks had the game on his stick and was denied, and that meant that the Tigers took 2 points off of the Knights, just the second team so far this season to do so after the MK Lightning. 6-1 after the first, the best period I've seen from a National League side all season. Raiders didn't play bad. Another great attendance, 2,072. Brad Winterback came on start of the second and shut the Lightning out for 2 periods. However, it's not James' fault in the first. Speed of MK and defence not good enough from the Raiders. Unfortunately, you got to play the game against MK. You can't start slow, or you will get burned. But yes, so either way, Leeds dropping a point. The other game then from Saturday, Swindon and Sheffield clashing down in Wiltshire at the Link Centre. Another one that went all the way to the shootout, and it's the Steel Dogs that take this one 6-5. The Steel Dogs 5-2 up at one stage, and a really good solid comeback here from the Wildcats. Again, another team who have struggled a little bit for form. The Bison, of course, have just been on this big, long losing run, whereas Swindon's form, even in game, has yo-yoed around all over the place, and just been utterly crazy. Alex Graham, Cam Brownlee, Matt Bissonette, a second from Brownlee, and I'm just trying to see who scored the other one there. Yes. Alex Graham got 2 in that one. So that was the 5 there. 2 from Malazinski. 1 from Balint Pokodzi, 1 from Floyd Taylor, and a late tying goal from Russ Cowley to to do bits and pieces. Corey is on fire. Corey McEwen is on fire at the moment, Kev. Can't deny that one. But yes, Vlad Volkanovs with the deciding penalty shot there. Reed Sayers denied by Dimitri Zimostra to take the extra point back up the M1 to Sheffield for the Steel Dogs. Heading into Sunday then, and well, they lost Sheffield. A 1:30 face-off, which was pretty impressive. They've gone very, very early at the best of times. Some people complain about a 4:30 face-off. I'm not sure how they'll deal with one just after lunchtime there. But the Peterborough Phantoms cruised their way through to an away win early on. 2 games in 24 hours for both sides. Tom Palmer with a lone goal for the Steel Dogs. Alish Padalek, Glenn Billing, a second from Padalek, and an empty net goal from Duncan Spears, making it 4-1 Slava Kulikov side, and a big 4-point weekend for the Phantoms as they look to keep pace at the top of the table. And then Leeds and Telford met again, this time in Shropshire, and it was not a repeat of the night before. The Knights punishing the Tigers for having the temerity to even take a point from them. 5-1 the final score to the Knights in Telford. Jason Silverthorne with a lone goal for the Tigers, a lead that lasted all of 25 seconds as 25 seconds into the second is when that goal came from Cole Shudra. And then his second made it 2-1. And then Shudra completed a natural hat-trick because, of course, he did. The other goals coming from Kieran Brown and Zach Brooks in that one. The Bees and Wildcats meeting in Slough, and another 5-1 win. But certainly the last goal scorer in this one was a particularly interesting one. Aaron Nell with a goal for the Cats that was an equaliser from Alan Lack, and then from there, the Wildcats kind of pressed on. Another goal from Nell, Colby Tower, Russ Cowley, and then the 5th goal. Well, the Bees fantastically managed to put this one into their own net. They pulled the goalkeeper. The puck bounces around. A mislaid pass goes scooping all the way down the ice and into the back of the net, which meant the last Wildcats player to touch it gets the goal. Rennie Marr is on the score sheet for the first time in his career, his first ever career goal in inverted commas. Obviously, the nature of ice hockey, if you're not familiar, there are no own goals in hockey. The last player to touch the puck from the scoring sign is credited with the goal. Marr was the last person to touch it when he kicked the puck away into the corner. Congratulations to Rennie, who the Wildcats did put out the video from the beginning of the season, from their sort of pre-season press bits and pieces. Marr said he was hoping to score this year. Well done, Rennie. He's beaten Jordan to that, if nothing else this season. We just then move on there. Hull. Look who's here. And of course, for the people who were here early, you saw it. The name, the word on the fridge is Andre. Andre Themar is here. And it was, he scored, but they didn't win. The MK Lightning go 3 for 3 on the weekend. We chatted about this last Wednesday, didn't we? And I mentioned it on Twitter during the week. But MK, if they had a bit of a wonky weekend with 3 and 3, would there be questions asked? But if they managed to pick up 5 or 6, they were really going to keep people looking over their shoulders at the top of the table. 6 from 6 for Tim Wallace's side, and you can only credit them with the quality that was there. A 4-2 victory. Sam Towner and Andre Themar there with the goals for the Seahawks. Bobby Chamberlain, Haldon Barnes-Garner, Tim Wallace, and then a late goal from David Sarkanis, making it a 4-2 final score for the 4-2 final score for the Lightning in that one. And then, of course, there's our friends from Bristol. They had a bad Saturday evening when they absolutely blew a lead, a 4-goal lead. How did it go as they travelled to Romford to take on the Raiders? Well, it was good early as Owen Sobchak, who I still think has been one of the best signings in the league this season, scoring after 91 seconds. And then the Raiders decided that they were not going to play around this evening. Aaron Connolly, Harry Gulliver, Elliot Dewey scoring his first goal as a Raider, to my knowledge. Jake Sylvester all then score. It's 4-1 at 26 minutes, forcing the timeout, and it didn't get better from there. Callum Wells, a second from Connolly, a second from Sylvester, and a goal from Jack Cooper, an 8-1 win for the Pitbulls. Obviously, they had that big change recently. Alex Roberts released, Benny Herod bought in. We do know that there is supposedly another import being announced tomorrow night by Jamie Elson and the Pitbulls. But boy, do they need something, because that was an absolute horror show of a weekend. I really like Jamie Elson. I really like his honesty and his candor in his interviews. I appreciate that that Aaron Nell is not the most comfortable of people in front of the camera, but I don't like and I don't get a lot out of his interviews. They feel very very skin deep. And you just they don't feel like they kind of have anything to it. And whereas Elson actually really puts some thought into what he says, and he's much more interesting and much more engaging. Of course, as somebody who writes a lot and likes going in depth, I do appreciate more of the person who goes into in depth, and that's my own personal bias is showing there. But Nell, I think, is just not the most comfortable guy in front of the camera, and that's absolutely fine. It's not his job to be comfortable in front of the camera. It's his job to coach a hockey team. But I just so much more prefer Elson. Let's have a quick look at the chat before we go to the tables and the point scorers. I think it's our D that is somewhat letting us down. We're good in between the pipes, decent up front like always, but a bit inconsistent at the back. Also, no Ollie Stone recently as well, who's a superb player. Pugh's banned for a few games now as well. Jamie, no Disco and Norris, who was playing for Belfast as well. Good for Norris. Lightning depth could be a key factor, very much so. But Leeds are pretty deep as well. I think they're, and actually Peterborough showing themselves to having some really, really good depth, because those top two lines have really produced for Peterborough, where some of the teams in the middle of the table and lower down have not. But actually, some of the younger guys are kind of just holding the fort down, not conceding, which is as good as sometimes as scoring, particularly if games are tight. Pitbull's goal, 3-on-5, short-handed. Ouch. Dewey first for the Raiders and Cooper's first goal season and for years. Yeah, I think I was there when the Solent versus Streatham game I was at. I think it was Jordan Gregory's first goal for 5 years. I saw. Same with Matty Davies. Love listening to his interview as well. I'm hoping to have a brief chat with the man himself come Saturday. So we'll go and see what happens there. Either way, we have the variety, the bits and pieces there that we need in terms of numbers. What we are going to do very, very quickly is we are going to pull up what we know to be the official table for the National Division, because now we can say it's official, because we know that Joe is properly legit and it's all there. So there we go. Still top of the table, unsurprisingly, because when you only drop 2 points, of course you're not going to do too badly. But the Leeds Knights still top of the NIHL National Division, 34 points from 18 games played. No losses in regulation yet for the Knights. Second place is MK. They have 33 points and have played 2 games more. They have 20 points. 20 games to their 33 points. Peterborough in third, 32 from 19. So, of course, with that game in hand, they would overtake the Lightning as well. Fourth place is Sheffield. They have 25 from 18. Telford in fifth have 22 from 21. Swindon in sixth now with their decent weekend, 19 from 18. The Raiders, 19 from 18, but Swindon hold the tiebreaker. And then Basingstoke now back into 8th place, 13 points from their 19 games. Their losing run officially at an end. Bristol, after their horror show of a weekend, 12 from 19. The Bees, 10 from 20. And Hull at the bottom of the National Division, 4 points from 20 games played. And of course, we now know when it comes to the National Cup, we have our semi-finalists. All the relevant teams have qualified. Leeds, MK, Peterborough and Sheffield will make up the semi-finals of the National Cup this time around. So as things stand, Leeds would play Sheffield, MK would play Peterborough, which would be fantastic. Obviously, still a few games to be played, but the Cup is already decided in terms of who is going to make the semi-finals there. That's the National Division done. Questions, comments, anything anybody kind of wants to chuck in. We'll go back and do the fixtures actually at the end. We've done it we've chopped and changed the format around, but we'll do the fixtures at the end of the show this time. Let's just do results and tables and bits and pieces. What we really want, I really want to see. Let's just double check. I'm just going to very quickly pull up the Leeds Knights, because we obviously looked at those stats bits and pieces there for the bits and pieces. But yeah, the ridiculousness that is Grant Cooper, 45 points in 18 games. Cole Shudra, 37 in 18. Kieran Brown, 13 in 18. Matt Hayward, 35 in 18. Zach Brooks, 33 in 18. Adam Barnes, 30 in 18. And then the next highest scorer is Lewis Baldwin and Carter Hamill and Sam Zajac. Those three players have 9. There is That is insane. There is a 21-point drop off between Barnes and Baldwin in the scoring charts. I wonder where all the scoring comes from. It might just be the top two lines in Leeds. Wow, that is utterly crazy. So if we think that Cooper there has 45 points, Baldwin has 9, Hamill has 9 for 18, Zajac has 9 for 20, has 9 there for 27, Griffin has 5, so 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Hazeldine has 4 points from his 9 games, so that's 37. Dylan here has 4 points, so that would be 41. Dearie me, this is utterly crackers in terms of some of the numbers here. Shout out Sam Gospel, he has 2 points so far this season. I'm sure who the highest scoring netminder is. We'll have to get Joe to give us some numbers there. We'll just quickly look as well at the Lightning, because the Lightning have scored a buttload of points as well into this. So let's just check them. Tim Wallace then, 36 from 20. Sean Norris, of course, we know is playing in Belfast. He is 34 from 18. Liam Stewart, 30 from 17. He's been injured recently. 22 goals in 17 games for Liam Stewart. Is a fantastic return. What I love is that Stewart, 22 plus 8 for 30 points. Sam Talbot, 8 plus 22. We know what Sam Talbot likes to do. It's pass. Bobby Chamberlain, 25 from 18. Of course, he's been suspended this season. And Sarkanis, 24 from 11 is a ridiculous return. And then the drop down to the next highest point scorer is James Griffin, Lee James, and then Ed Nax again, all on 9 points. Not to say they're mirroring each other or anything like that, but those are pretty crazy numbers there in the National Division from our top two sides. Either way, then, let's quickly head on into North 1 and just have a quick look at bits and pieces there from last weekend. And we knew it was going to be a big game. We knew it was going to be a big game in the context of the North 1 title, because it always is, because they're the two teams who by far and away are the biggest, are the best. League only, no cup implications for this game on Saturday night. The only game in the division. Solway Sharks 6, Whitley Warriors 5. A huge win in the context of the season for Solway, because it levels up the wins against each other between the Sharks and the Warriors. A huge game there. Sunday then, our friends the Nottingham Lions. Well, it started well. It didn't end very well there. Nottingham 4, Billingham 7 in League and Cup. The Lions just getting tired of making far too many mistakes towards the end of that game. It was, of course, through on YouTube. Go watch it back if you want to. Whitley then, they got over their poor Saturday night with a thumping 8-2 win over the Blackburn Hawks at Hillhead, and then Widnes with a 5-2 win over the Sheffield Scimitars. The Scimitars have just had a wretched season so far. Unfortunately, they are rooted firmly to the bottom of the table. If we look at bits and pieces now in North 1, Whitley are still top. They have 24 points from 14 games. But Solway now a game in hand and only 1 point behind, 23 from 13. That game in hand for Solway is going to be massive. It would take them top if they win it. But keeping pace with them are the Billingham Stars, the youth up there. The youth up there at the Forum really starting to come to the fore. 20 points from 14 games for Billingham after their good win against Nottingham during last weekend. Widnes then 14 from 12. Solihull 13 from 11. Nottingham still in 6th. They have 8 from 14. Blackburn 8 from 13. Deeside, of course, on their pause until their rink is ready, 2 from 6. Sheffield still with just the lone overtime loss. They're 1 point from 13 games played so far this season. What I can do is I can quickly bash that button and get rid of those notes. Let's head on down then into South 1, our friends down here in the South. Just crack our way to the results there. Back to last Saturday then, and the place I've been this season, Gosport treated to a league-only encounter between the Solent Devils and the Invicta Dynamos. A 4-2 win for Solent there to keep their decent form going towards the top of the table. And then Streatham in Southern Cup action, they needed a result and they didn't get it. They lose 5-3 at home to the Chelmsford Chieftains. Backstopped, I believe in this one by Luca Tassadri, because the following night, Chelmsford were at home in the Southern Cup against the Oxford City Stars. Petr Cech between the pipes for this one, and a 5-4 win for the Chieftains over the Oxford City Stars. back in league action, Streatham, well, they returned very much to form a 2-0 shutout win in Gillingham against the Invicta Dynamos. Solent got 4 points out of the weekend, a 3-1 win in the Thunderdome against the MK Thunder for them. Not a very game-heavy one in the south so far, but the 4-point weekend for the Devils sees them now top of the table, 16 from 10. Streatham, though, games in hand and only 2 points behind, 14 from 8. They would go top if they won those games in hand. Slough still hanging around. They have 12 from 10. Chelmsford 8 from 8. Romford 7 from 6. Invicta 6 from 10. Oxford 4 from 8. Milton Keynes 3 points from 6. So games in hand still could very easily claw their way high up the table for a better draw in the playoffs. Though, as we said, though, Streatham's Grand Slam from across the south at least will not be repeated. They are out of the cup. Invicta and Chelmsford have qualified, and Streatham's points deduction in the cup for their games at the beginning of the year has cost them. That is one trophy that will not be heading to the high road at the end of this season. The focus for the Red Hawks will go towards the league and the cup. But certainly in the cup there, Chelmsford and Invicta have qualified from Group A. Solent have qualified in Group B, but it's still technically, mathematically possible for one of Slough, MK, or Romford to get through, albeit MK and Romford have played 5 games. Slough need a point to qualify for the next round of the cup. Questions, comments, anything else? We've gone through Division 1, we've gone through the National Division, so stick in the bits and pieces you want to talk about in the chat. Are there any other stats we want to look at? I think the National Division is a good place. We're going to look at stats for bits and pieces. That'll be a place to go. But we'll head on into North 2 from last weekend. Only a couple of games from Saturday, and both league title hopefuls playing on Saturday evening. They're not against each other. And 2 wins for the title challengers. Hull with a good 7-2 win in their Yorkshire derby against the Bradford Bulldogs. Telford with an 8-2 win at home against Altrincham. Telford then had a tough trip down the road to the Skydome to take on the Coventry NIHL Blaze, but the Tigers coming out 5-2 winners there. The only other game in North 2 on Sunday. A good win for the Sheffield Titans. They win the derby game against the Nottingham Lions too. A bad weekend for the Lions as both sides lose on Sunday. Of course, we know that North 2 not the most fixture heavy league due to the fact there's only 8 teams in it. Certainly in the cup, we know in the cup that Telford, Sutton, Hull, and Altrincham have already qualified for the next round there. In the league table itself, well, they've played 3 more games than their rivals. So Telford are top at the moment. They've 2 overtime losses, no regulation loss at all for the Tigers so far in North 2. 24 from 13. Hull, 18 from 10. At the moment, the 2 teams could finish on level points. Both maximum points for these 2 teams are 54. So wins against each other are going to be massive in the run into this. Or any team that could upset the apple cart could hand the league title to one or the other. There is a drop down then to 3rd place. Altrincham have 12 from 11. Sutton have 12 from 12. Sheffield 11 from 12. Nottingham 7 from 11. Coventry 7 from 11. And Bradford at the bottom after their defeat this weekend. They have 6 points from their 10 games. We'll then wander on down to South 2 with its absurd amount of teams and absurd amount of people in the league. I've pressed the button, gone too far there. Just the one game from Saturday evening in South 2. And another win for the Bristol Pitbulls. They win down in Gillingham, a 6-4 win for them over the Invicta Mustangs. Haringey, well, they played Basingstoke last week at Ali Pally and came away with a 10-0 win. They had a much tougher game in Basingstoke this time out, but still a win for the Huskies. 5-2 they win in Basingstoke on Sunday. It was a proper goal fest in Oxford for the Rising Stars and the Cardiff Fire. This game went to overtime, but it's the Cardiff Fire who get the extra point. They win 7-6 against the Rising Stars. And Chelmsford with a win 7-4 away in Solent to keep them winless. And unsurprisingly, our friends at Lee Valley, they were up against Stretton Blackhawk side, who we know have been in good form to start this season. A 9-3 win on the high road for the Blackhawks in this one. Certainly, we know in the cup, nothing quite decided there. Although there's 3 teams on 8 points in Group A: Bristol, Invicta, and Guildford. And then in Group B, Streatham have 10 points from 5. They are perfect in the cup so far. Chelmsford and Haringey are both on 6 points apiece. So Cardiff are on 4, still very much in with a shout of the cup there. And then in the league, like we said, it's another win from Bristol, and it keeps them top 20 points from 11 games. They are 3 points clear of Haringey with 17 from 11. Invicta 16 from 10, along with Guildford 16 from 10 as well. The Phoenix, not quite the powerhouse they were last year, and certainly this Bristol Pitbulls side, bolstered by those guys, a lot of whom played Division 1 last year, looking like they are the early forerunners. However, Streatham have only played 9 games and they have 16 points. They, at the moment, are still at the maximum points level of Bristol if things went that way. So games in the top 5 are really, really going to be important going forward in South 2. 6th are Cardiff, they have 12 from 13. Chelmsford have 10 from 10. Peterborough have 10 from 9. Oxford are in 9th. They also have 10 points, but they have played 13 games. That's 4 more than Peterborough, 3 more than Chelmsford. Basingstoke 4 from 9. Swindon 4 from 7. Lee Valley and Solent both have 0. So one of those teams is at least going to get some points, probably against the other. It makes those 2 games decide who is going to get the NIHL wooden spoon. For sure, given the fact that we know that at least the team at the bottom of North 2, which is Bradford, have points this year. And so there we go. We are at the point where we have gone through all the results. Everything in the National Division has been talked about. So questions and comments, everything that you guys kind of want to chuck in, we'll throw in our discussion topic that somebody brought up on Twitter in a minute. Looking at Peterborough stats, you understand why they're 3rd in the league. Yeah, and it's production out of the top end, and depth scoring has come into play as well. You know, it's not just It's not just Mitchell King who's been hurt. It's not just been one guy. It's not Padalecki on his own. They've had guys scoring across the lines, and Brad Bowring getting points into the bargain. Foster chips in with points and the like. They've got guys who, when the top guys don't put in the points, somebody else will chip in and do bits and pieces. So Senis has kept his nose clean. It's just worked really well so far. So we'll chuck in this discussion question because I'm interested to hear what people think. Because there was a chat on Twitter, and I'll just pull up the bits and pieces. It was a chap called Andrew Reynolds, who tweeted at MannersOTW during the bits and pieces during the day today. Personally, I think the cup games, assuming it's the final here, should be Saturday or Sunday, regular times for each home club, not Fridays. Move the league fixture to accommodate. So what do we think of that, folks? Do we think that the cup final should be more of a standalone event? Should it be treated kind of in a similar way as the Elite League Challenge Cup is? Diaz Valenti, Norton Bowring, top 2 D-men in terms of points by a mile in the National. Yeah, they are very much so. Norton, of course, assistant coach there as well, so very much carrying the load. But what do we think, folks? Do we think the NHL Cup should kind of end up having the same level of, of end game, as it were, as the Elite League Challenge Cup? We know that sort of boils down to a 1-game final at one rink. Should we do that on a Saturday or a Sunday night, or should we keep what we have, which is sort of midweek games and fit the cup in around everything else? Well, I think the one thing, of course, the big difference here, the Elite League separate out the Challenge Cup. The NIHL does not do this until the semi-final stage. We have for those unaware, in the National Division, and actually most of the leagues, in a lot of the leagues as well, not in South 1 because they're special, but certainly in the National Division, the first home and the first away game against each other side is classed as a cup game as well as a league game, and that determines the semi-finalists for the cup. So the top 4 sides go into the semi-finals. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3, and then you get your 2 finalists off the back of that. For me, the thought of having a standalone NIHL Cup final is a nice idea. The issue is practicalities, I think, here, because the teams playing normally in rinks rather than arenas, they don't have the same power to kind of command ice time that a Sheffield or a Belfast or a Nottingham would be able to command. and that means kind of fitting it around what the rinks will offer, which is usually going to be midweek bits and pieces. And if you're moving league games, if Milton Keynes are due to play, if the cup semis were today, MK are playing Peterborough. Now, if you're playing Peterborough on a Saturday night, you can probably have a conversation with them about moving it. But why, if MK, for example, were home against Leeds, why would Leeds move their league fixture to accommodate one of their title rivals? Why would they do that? It's not gonna be a thing that they do. So it's a lot of good ideas, but until ice hockey can kind of, especially at NHL national level, can kind of command more sway to be able to kind of move things around, we're going to see the cup final being what it is, which is a two-legged affair. So both sides get some revenue out of it. And it'll be played on like a Wednesday or a Friday night. Friday night I don't think is too bad, to be perfectly honest. I think Friday night is arguably better than a Wednesday night for such things. But like I say, we're the position that we're in. If I was full of straw, I'd be a scarecrow. Thoughts on Liam Kirk being moved to the ECHL? Given the fact he's only played one game in the American League so far, I think this is the best thing for him. The Atlanta Gladiators are a decent side. Liam's going to hopefully get the opportunity to play. The ECHL is a level above the Elite League, and ultimately this is about Liam Kirk putting himself back in the shop window. From a Tucson perspective. He didn't play much of last year because of this knee injury. He needs game time. He needs to be able to play minutes. He's not going to, by the looks of it, he's not going to get the opportunity to do that in Tucson. And being moved down to the ECHL is not the bad thing that some people think it is. Plenty of guys have played in the ECHL as part of their entry level contracts and gone on to play in the NHL. Goalies, have moved backwards and forwards. I think and you never know what's going to happen. Injuries can cause issues at any time. Keith Petrozelli is currently on the. He's currently with the Toronto Marlies. He was on an AHL contract and started the season with Newfoundland in the ECHL. He's now on an NHL contract because so many guys got hurt. Toronto had to waive Nicolas Aube-Kubel, who was claimed by Washington, to make way for the fact that Toronto had a space to have a contract space available that they could sign Petrozelli. Like, Kirk could go down to the ECHL and light the league on fire, or he could get moved as part of a trade. There's talk about Jacob Chikrin being moved out of Arizona. Does he get moved? Does Kirk, as a prospect, does he potentially get moved as a piece of any deal and go to a side that maybe is looking for someone who needs someone like a Liam Kirk rather than Arizona, which, as we have seen, is a dumpster fire of an organization. Ultimately, from a GB perspective, having our best player being fit and well and having played lots of minutes is what we need for Worlds, especially given the fact that Worlds are in Nottingham. We need GB to sharp and show out come the end of the year. I like it was like that between MK and Peterborough in 2017. Sunday first leg, Breton sold out. Second leg at the Thunderdome, 2,500 sell out the following Saturday. Yeah, and if the stars align, then that's great. But I don't think any other team in the national division should need to accommodate the other teams for the sake of the cup final. Why am I going to put my thing at, if you're meant to be coming to my barn to put money in our pocket from our fans, I don't need to move my game for you. Would it be nice? Yeah. If it was Swindon and Leeds needing to move games around, they'd probably do it for each other. But I don't think it's as there's a great idea in theory, but I don't think in practice it works, unfortunately. Oh, dearie me. Also for fancy NHL, New Jersey, 13 games in a row is pretty crazy. I don't know why I went so high, but certainly for NHL fans, there's obviously lots going on at the moment. Nicholas Backstrom looking like he's going to be back, so as a Caps fan, that's great. New Jersey with their 13 games in a row, plenty of stuff happening. And of course, the big news in the NHL today: Ryan Reeves moved, sent to Minnesota for a 5th round pick by the New York Rangers. Scratched the last 6 games as well. Obviously I know a lot of people very, 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 very keen on Ryan Reeves. I never massively fussed by Ryan Reeves. I felt like he was a poor man's Tom Wilson, who offers more, contributes more, and won a Stanley Cup when Ryan Reeves was sat in the press box. Corey Nielsen back at Nottingham. I have reserved feelings about this because I think going back to can work. It doesn't work. It works less often than it does, in my opinion. But I get the rationale, right? In that in that Nottingham at the moment is a club very much in transition. They moved to this new model where Omar Pasha is kind of running the show, and Gary Graham, for whatever reason, it just didn't work. And Nielsen has gone away and done a bunch of things, and he's been brought into the end of the year to steady the ship, get the people back on side, get the fans back on side, particularly because if anybody's going to command respect and the support of the fan base, it's Corey Nielsen. And it is what it is. It's a PR hire because I think Corey has got bigger ambitions than the Elite League. He's obviously been out of work for a little bit. He's obviously coached around a little bit in Europe, but now it's just time to get a few months under his belt, get coaching in. And I'd be very, very surprised if Corey Nielsen is back as the Nottingham Panthers coach next year. This is an opportunity for someone who knows Nottingham, knows the club, has some ideas about how to do things in this league, and this is about righting the ship right now. For Omar Pasha and the Nottingham Panthers, getting a guy in who's got and also got some pretty good contacts as well. Guys who he's played with will want to play for Corey Nielsen. Some of those imports who maybe have not been performing might get swapped out before we know it. So I'm not going to say everything's going to be wonderful and rosy in Nottingham before too long, but certainly I think this is a good move to kind of steady the ship. And I think that's kind of what Nottingham need right now. Just very quickly, just scooting through. Just want to see if have we missed any news whilst we've been on air. I'm just going to quickly have a quick scoot and hope that nothing terrible has happened. We're just going to see. It doesn't look like anything has happened. Just going to get nothing else there. So what we'll do then very, very quickly, Cardiff through to the Continental Cup finals. Well, congrats to the Devils on that one. I've not been keeping massively close tabs on that, but great for them to keep pressing on that front. It's always good to be able to host European hockey here in Britain. And of course, we've got the Friendship 4 coming up before too long as well over in Belfast. That's always a really, really good time. Make sure to follow our friends at Aviv and the Bridge for really, really good coverage of all that. Really good coverage of that lot. Either way, let's have a quick scoop and let's have a look at the assorted fixtures across the National Ice Hockey League structure. What have I done here? There we go. Managed to press the wrong button, of course. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look. We'll start at the National Division and work our way through. So we'll go into this weekend starting on Saturday, the 26th of September. Deary me, Anthony. Saturday, the 26th of November. I'll get the dates right. It's nearly Christmas, which is really terrifying. Fairview, 6:30 p.m. face-offs this coming Saturday. No Friday games, but 6:30 p.m. this coming Saturday. Swindon take on Telford. Leeds host the Raiders. The Bees host the Phantoms at the Hangar. Basingstoke with the first time meeting in Basingstoke for them and the Hull Seahawks. And the one lone 7 p.m. face-off is in BS10. The Bristol Pitbulls take on the Sheffield Steel Dogs. Into Sunday, 4:30 p.m. face-off for the Sheffield Steel Dogs. They are at home against the MK Lightning. 5:15 face-off for the Raiders at home at Sapphire Ice and Leisure. They take on Swindon. 5:30 p.m. face-offs in Hull. They take on Leeds. And in Peterborough, who host the Pitbulls. And then the Telford Tigers take on the Bees. That is a 6 p.m. face-off in Shropshire. No Sunday game for the Basingstoke Bison this weekend. Just a one-game weekend for the Herd. So all the more reason to go out and start smashing up Hull if they can find a way to keep Andre Themar in check this coming Saturday. Into North 1, just the one game on the Saturday because there seems to be the tradition in this division for some strange reason. 7:30 p.m. face-off at Ice Sheffield. The Sheffield Shimmers taking on the Solway Sharks. Now that would be a game in hand for the Sharks. That is big. So if they win that in Sheffield against a team that has 1 point all season, Sharks go top. Then, of course, big things the following day on Sunday. Whitley are away at Blackburn. Solway are away at Solihull. So two tough games there. Solway's arguably tougher given Blackburn have been much more up and down this year. 5:30 p.m. face-off for Solihull against Solway. 6 p.m. for Blackburn against Whitley. 5:30 p.m. face-off for Widnes. They take on Billingham as Billingham look to keep up their good run to the season. And if Solway or Whitley slip up, they could very, very easily find themselves in second place. We head into South 1. A couple of games on Saturday. One in the league. The MK Thunder hosting the Chelmsford Chieftains at 7 p.m. at the Thunderdome. And in the Southern Cup on Saturday, Romford host Slough. A point will qualify. We'll see Slough qualify for the semi-finals. On Sunday, then league action all the way through. Chelmsford take on Streatham 6 p.m. at the Riverside. 5:15 for p.m. face-off at Invicta in Gillingham. They take on the MK Thunder, and a 6:30 p.m. face-off at the Hangar. The Slough Jets versus the Oxford City Stars. Into North 2 for this coming weekend. A couple of games actually on Saturday. Coventry take on the Nottingham Lions. 7:30 p.m. face-off at the Sky Dome. 4 p.m. face-off on Saturday at Sheffield. The Sheffield Titans against the Telford Tigers. That is preceded on Saturday. A 1 p.m. face-off for Sutton Sting versus Hull. So both of the title challengers back to back at Sheffield there. Hull against Sutton at 1. Telford away at Sheffield at 4. So lots of good hockey this coming Saturday at Sheffield. Sunday, then a couple of games. A 1 p.m. face-off for Sutton. They are back at home twice in 24 hours. They have a League and Cup game against Bradford at 1 p.m. on Sunday. 4:15 p.m. face-off for the Altrincham Aces. They are at home against the Coventry NIHL Blaze. And then we'll have a quick scoot into South 2. Just 2 games this coming Saturday, and one towards the top end of the table that we very much worth a watch. 5:30 p.m. face-off at Ali Pally, the Haringey Huskies and the Streatham Blackhawks. Now we know both these teams definitely, as we saw earlier, definitely challenging. Streatham though with games in hand, and if they can beat Haringey whilst maintaining those games in hand, that is going to put the Blackhawks in a very good position when it comes towards title discussions. The other game on Saturday is a 6:30 p.m. face-off in Peterborough. The Phantoms host the Guildford Phoenix. So both those games are League and Cup. Phoenix are in League and Cup action again on Sunday at the Spectrum. They have a 6:30 p.m. face-off against Invicta. The other League and Cup games, 6:30 for Swindon, they take on Solent, and 6:45 on the High Road, Streatham take on Basingstoke. There is one game in South 2 on Sunday that is League only. That's a 6:15 p.m. face-off in Oxford. The Rising Stars take on the Haringey Huskies. So there we go. Those are all of our games upcoming for the NIHL. All 5 divisions this coming Saturday and Sunday. Let's just have a quick look. Questions, comments. We're heading towards the hour mark here, so we'll be heading off before too long. A rare Saturday night off for the Lightning. Might go and watch Petr Cech in MK on Saturday versus the Thunder. Lots of Lightning fans might come down to support the Thunder for that one. Well, I suppose the big issue there is Petr Cech going to travel for this one? That being said, people want to turn up and see Petr Cech, but it should be said, irrespective of who joins in that one, there's 2 very good other very good netminders in Chelmsford. Sonny Phillips has been around for a long time and has been very good, but Luca Tassandri is the future. There is a very talented young netminder. There's a couple of really good young quality netminders in South 1 at the moment. Tassandri is one. Tyler Delabertouche is another. So there's definitely some really good young goalies coming through in the South. And yes, seeing Petr Cech play would be really good. It'd be a great novelty value. And obviously, the intangibles he's going to be able to pass on, particularly to Luca, is going to be massive. But don't sleep on the netminding group in Chelmsford. It's not just Petr Cech. They have got some real quality there. And particularly the young Tassandri is going to be very good. Very soon. But yes, like I say, anything else anybody kind of wants to chuck in the chat? Otherwise, we will start, like I say, heading towards the end of the hour mark. We're just having a look, see what else is going on. That's a shame. Belgium have beaten Canada in the football. That's very sad. But Canada got to find a way to score. They've given everything and just fallen short. If you're not had a chance, actually, obviously this is football rather than ice hockey. There's a really good documentary that Canada Soccer have put up about the qualifying journey Canada did for the World Cup. Really interesting. Definitely kind of recommend it. Otherwise, like I say, because we're very nearly at the hour mark, and we will say where we've kind of gone everything. If there's questions and comments and bits and pieces that people have got, then please do chuck them in now. Otherwise, we will, like I say, we will very quickly wind down, because of course there's other bits and pieces people need to do. Just having a look about a few other bits and pieces. Of course, if you're heading to Leeds, do remember, if you're booking tickets to go see the Leeds Knights, that they are running their 20% Black Friday sale on some of their tickets. I know they've got, I know that's valid for their game against the Raiders before too long. So definitely make sure that you check out that. And of course, like I say, we're going to see what's coming out of it, what's coming out of Telford, what's coming out of Bristol tomorrow with their new import. That's going to be really, really interesting. There's a lot going on in the NIHL at the moment. I do like that tweet from Telford as well about their instruction manual for putting together an ice hockey player. Well, the answer is just a Lego one. So the top goes in the bottom and the helmet goes on top. Tommy, that's all you need. World Cup possible face-off time movement if England go far. Yeah, I'd say so. I don't think it would be. I think if England made the final, I think there'd be a lot of teams very nervously looking around at sort of face-off times. But obviously, the issue is going to be, what can you do? Ice hockey is a sport, particularly at our level, Jamie, that lives hand to mouth, and are you going to be able to move stuff too far backwards? I venture what would happen because I don't know what time the final's meant to kick off in Qatar. Because if it was meant to be like a 7 p.m. Kickoff UK time, you might be able to persuade people to move your game back to maybe 4, maybe even 3. Second round Sunday the 4th, 7 p.m. No hockey team's going to move for the round of 16. Semi-final or the final, I think people will look to move games. But I don't think they'd move it for the round of 16, to be perfectly honest, especially not on a Sunday night. Well, given that we're over the hour mark now, folks, and I think, like I say, there doesn't appear to be much happening in the chat, I think we will call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for everything related to the bases at Bison for the last 11, nearly 12 years. Player comings, player goings, running with the herd whenever there's a game, as well as our hockey story series, the weird, wonderful, and wacky world of ice hockey, told in long-form content, long-form pieces, stretching from the 19th to the 20th to the 21st century, officials, players, all sorts, you name it, we've covered it. And like I say, eventually, when I get this piece, when the people who are writing this about will let me release the piece, there's a really good one coming soon, I promise you. So definitely make sure to check that out. The old back catalogue of the old BOTW podcast is over there, as well as our tabletop ice hockey simulation game, Dice Hockey. It is free to download. Although if you do enjoy it and you download it, because all you need is a bit of paper and like a timer on your phone. But if you download it, then do please consider making a donation to Parkinson's UK. My dad is a sufferer, and originally during lockdown, when I made the game to kind of just give people something to do at home with their family, I did say I encourage people to make a donation, and I still say it now because Parkinson's sucks, and it would be really great if we could find a cure for it. But that and a bunch of other great stuff to enjoy is over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, facebook.com/bannersonthewall. If you like your news coming through your Facebook feed, every piece that goes on the website comes through the Facebook feed as well. So if you want to hit the like on the page on Facebook, that'd be appreciated. Facebook.com/bannersonthewall. But the number one place to interact with me and my writing and the bits and pieces I do and the commentary I do about the National Ice Hockey League structure is Twitter at BannersOTW. Not moved everything over to Mastodon or to Hive or anything like that just yet. Twitter appears to still be hanging around a little bit. But of course, it's the one place as well where we talk about and we publicize this that you're watching right now, the BOTW What's Current stream Wednesday night, 8 p.m. throughout the National Ice Hockey League season. We might have to take a break for Christmas, but we'll see what happens there. We might be able to get away with running running shows during the Christmas period as well. But this is here. It's the NIHL's first and only live show that goes into all the divisions, all the chat, all the comment from you. We go through every single game, however brief it may be. We try and do a bit more depth about the national because that's kind of where we focus. But every result gets a mention. Any news that people want to talk about from the NIHL, we will cover it here and talk about it with you, the lovely viewing public. And like I say, we're here on YouTube now. So, if you want to hit subscribe to make sure that when this goes live, it pops up for you like that, do as well. Hit the notification bell. I am going to change the name of the channel eventually. I swear. I just need to sit down with some people who know more about YouTube than me and kind of work it out. But Twitter, at BannersOTW, that is the number one place where everything goes through. You'll get the link for here as well. And we see you Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And there we are. Another week gone. I'm looking forward to Saturday and my first viewing of Hull in person. Somebody said they were going to bring me chips by, so I'm hoping they turn up and bring me chips by. So I'm really looking forward to that if that comes off. If nothing else, it'll be interesting to have a chat to Matty Davies in person potentially and just see how things are going. But whatever's going on, the weather has been absolutely awful. It's been backwards. My son has not been well. He had a stomach bug and he threw up earlier. But whatever's going on in your lives, be happy. And if you can't be happy, then please Please be safe. As my friend Scotty Watts would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. And so long till next time. And if you're in Basingstoke on Saturday evening against Hull, come say hello. Have a good hockey weekend, everybody. We'll see you next Wednesday night at 8 p.m.